kah? Did you all have class this morning?
Yes.
Ada. Oh, okay. Letih lah ni. Okey saja.
Okey je.
Okey je kan? Lagipun duduk rumah je. Duduk-duduk je. Alright, so petang ni kita borak-borak je. So let's begin our session with recitation of Ummul Kitab. Okay, so again, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon. I hope you can see me and hear me clearly. Okay, so welcome to Toxicology. Apa perasaan nak belajar toksiko ni? Biasa je. So excited. Oh, jarang dengar tu. But macam ni modus operandi course yang ini sama saja macam pharmaco. I think you would have seen the teaching plan that I have attached in the new Padlet wall. Kalau you perasan, or perhaps I share lah saya share. Okay. Sekejap. I will share my screen with you. Ada ke? Nampak ke my screen?
Nampak.
Nampak ya? Alright. Okay, so I bukakan lah Padlet wall for you all. So sempat ke go through the teaching plan at least? Ada ke? Ambil masa untuk tengok during the weekend? Okay. Let me just open this. Okay, so this is something that we have to go through, and then I will have to make you understand lah but it's no different from pharmacology sebenarnya. Ini macam extension, but like I said, the mode of operation for this course will be relatively the same lah so macam biasa, the learning outcomes are there. But of course, since this is like remote teaching and learning still untuk sem 2 ni, mungkin lah kalau bab skill ni we will of course use alternative methods lah macam last sem kita guna apa yang untuk pharmaco tu, ada tak macam video recording that my co-instructors ni made you watch ke untuk lab ke? Ada
Ada.
Ada
Doktor.
Okay. I think I do not know lah but sekarang, zaman sekarang orang pun belajar through online kan, like my PhD student kan dulu. When she does not know about a certain procedure, yang lab procedure yang macam baru so we always macam find out or kita search dalam YouTube macam tu so that's the sort of method or learning method that we go for now so I do not think you are in any way lacking lah walaupun you are not face to face or on campus so it's only macam nak belajar atau tak belajar, and then nanti masa you graduate bila you kena apply benda tu, I'm sure you have to like learn again kan so that is something that I want to remind you lah so you are in not in any way lacking walaupun tak buat face to face at this time of pandemic kan so it's really up to you. Okay, so learning outcomes ni not so much of a problem lah for toxicology but if you notice assessment punya weightage pun seakan-akan sama macam pharmaco, right? So you have been or you have gone through pharmacology, so I would expect that you would also be doing well in this course, right? Okay, so macam biasa in terms of attendance and all that, but I need to ask, dah tengok ke the weekly topics ni? Dah at least go through scan, dah scan ke? Imat dah scan ke Imat? Imat you are in charge of year 2 ke? Yeah.
Belum.
Belum lagi? Tak sempat tengok? Yeah. Hari tu masa I bercakap dengan year 2 advisor ke apa, orang kata tanya Imat siapa PIC untuk kos ni. Yeah. I do not know. So perhaps you are in charge ke in as liaison ke? Yeah. But okay, so kita tengok sekarang ya, the teaching plan. So meaning to say kita dah revert balik pada the normal number of weeks in a semester. So if you notice, we have 14 weeks. Yeah? Okay, so we have 14 weeks. Yeah? I did not count here the Hari Raya break lah, right? So you can see that I will do weeks 1 to 3 and then the last week. So after week 3, I can tinggalkan you and then you'll be with the other co-instructors. And then I will see you masa penutup lah, ya. Boleh cakap macam tu lah, ya. So I think it's clear. I think I have not missed putting in all the assessments dalam warna merah lah, warna-warna lain ni. I hope semua ada dekat situ ya. So Eva nanti you check ya. Takut juga saya termiss ya any of the assessments. Can you do that, Eva?
Boleh, insyaAllah.
Yeah, nanti you check ya. Okay. So I'm thinking that this is correct already. And then macam dates tu pun I dah refer pada public holidays and all that ya. So hopefully tak ada overlap lah ya. So mana-mana yang we are not able to use session Monday petang, kalau tak ada lab minggu tu, like next week kita akan buat on Friday, ya. Kita akan ambil slot lab lah, ya. So I think Monday depan ada apa? Monday depan cuti ya. Monday depan, I do not know what's happening. Tak ingat saya, ya. But there must be a reason why. So I have shifted next week's session to Friday. Okay. Okay, so take note of that, ya. And then semua ada dekat dalam tu lah, ya. The quizzes, when it will be conducted, ya. So as much as this is for students, yeah, this is also a reference for my co-instructors lah, so that they know when to conduct what, yeah. So kalau you have any issues, you get together and you tell me, yeah. Eva, boleh ya? Okay. So kalau ada masalah ke, bagi tahu, yeah. Okay, so ada apa-apa ke? Anything you'd like to ask about this teaching plan? Does it look alright to you? Kali ni ada break kan? Nampak tu, hari raya break. Yeah? Okay. Alright. Tak ada apa-apa question? You can chat with me also. Okay. Thank you, Nurul Ain. Okay. Okay, so then for these 3 weeks, yeah, I apa ni, kalau ada learning materials lagi I akan masukkan ya. But as usual I will apa ni welcome kalau you will post questions here. Remember you can add comment here ya. Macam biasa lah ya. So introduce yourself and then let me have a look at your ID, your metric card, metric number, and then post your question, yeah, and then I will answer here, right? So make sure you do that lah, yeah, especially when you are reviewing, right? So for today, we will look at this this set of slides saja, ya. So just introduction. Sangat kacang-kacang je lah, ya. So I do not know kalau they will lama-lama sikit 55 slides ni berapa estimation, so hopefully not more than sejam setengah ke, yeah. So hope you can bear with me lah. As you would know, I'm always concerned about students having to use their data, yeah. Okay, so I think semua dah ada. Alright, so do you want to tell me what do you understand by toxicology? Anyone? Apa beza dengan pharmacology? So tell me. Ada beza tak dengan pharmacology? Ke dah tak ingat dah pharmacology hari tu? How was your results? Boleh ke? Your pharmaco results?
Result sama aku okey je.
Okay lah, yeah. But I thought some of you did very well also, yeah. So it's not common tau, sebab kadang-kadang pharmaco ni quite susah, yeah. So congratulations, yeah. So I think all of you passed. I know all of you passed also, yeah. So when we are talking about toxicology, boleh lah we say that it's sort of like an expansion from pharmacology, yeah. Bila pharmacology ni, yes, you are learning about the effects perhaps of drugs, yeah, substances towards the biological system, yeah, but in normal conditions lah, yeah. But when it's to do with toxicology, we are very much focusing on the toxic effects, okay, of drugs, of substances yang can come into contact with your biological system, okay. So that is the emphasis, right? So a lot of people are actually forever using the concepts of toxicology. I think sepanjang hidup lah you akan apply principles of toxicology, pharmacology sebenarnya, without you even realizing, but it's supposed to be like a tak adalah susah mana course ni, but what you would be required, what would be required from you in this course is the ability to like classify toxic substances and then tell us about their effects, mechanism of action. So what is it that actually cause the toxic effects, right? So as you can see from the slides now, we put emphasis on the sources, where do the toxic compounds come from, and then they can be classified into groups, because then we can guess how they act, what their mechanism of actions are, right? And then of course it becomes very important that we are able to actually measure, assess, or perhaps evaluate their effects, so you would have to be able to know what sort of testing methods that you can do, right? So sama ada guna machine, guna animal model, so macam itu, and of course since it's toxic substance that we are dealing with, so apa sebenarnya side effects tu, apa the toxic effects or adverse effects or reactions that can happen. Okay, so can I just ask you, are we exposed to toxic substances every day? What do you all think?
Yes.
Contoh Nur Ain, Serena? Contoh, bagi contoh.
Reset boleh kira ke?
Reset. Betul lah. Banyak nyamuk ke? Banyak denggi. Ya. Macam anak saya lah. Dia nak sebelum tidur spray banyak-banyak. And then, ialah walaupun water based kan, is degradable semua ni but I'm always concerned lah because there are things that you can inhale, things that your body can absorb kan ya. Even when you go out into the sun there can be toxicity happening and what more every other molecules that surrounds you lah but I'm not trying to yes I said the carbon CO lah carbon monoxide so but I am not wanting to make you into a paranoid person okay, remember everything tu dah ditulis but we should have courage, we should be brave so we shouldn't let the feeling of that we are forever exposed to toxic substance sampai mengganggu your mental health Liana, bila you isi minyak kereta tu janganlah duk sedut-sedut tu the vapors so be very careful, right? So it can do a lot of things to and perhaps it can cause different reactions to different people yes, drugs. Who knows? So the susceptibility of the individual to different substances, different drugs are very different, from each other. Alright, so itu macam benda-benda kecil, but I think every day or perhaps daily, you are reading about things happening globally or perhaps in another state, or do you see even this pandemic ada kaitan ke dengan toxicity ke? I do not know. Perhaps the vaccine itself. Saya scheduled to get Pfizer vaccine tau hari Rabu ni. So I'm going for my first jab this Wednesday. So the frontliners, the deans. So we are getting the Pfizer one. Saya tak tahu lah, dia kata lepas tu boleh cakap Cina ke, I don't know. So itu macam-macam cerita about the vaccines. I hope you are keeping abreast lah with whatever is happening lah, especially the pandemic. Alright, so this is something for you lah. So I think this you can have a read through and laugh at it. But when you're learning about toxicology, kalau ditanya, you must be able to, let's say, define or bagi maksud toxicity. So you must be able to do that. You belajar toxicology kan, so nanti kalau orang tanya, what is toxicity? So perhaps you can say it's the capacity of a certain substance to cause adverse reactions or cause alteration on the health, right? So it can be in the form of injury, hazard, all sorts of things. So remember, toxicity ni, I think dalam pharmacology, when I was teaching you also, I mentioned about toxicity can be very subtle. Sakit perut tu pun a form of toxicity kan. Gatal-gatal, rash pun is a form of toxicity. So the range of effects can be from local effect to something that is fatal. Alright, so that is how you could explain what toxicity means. And then something that you would have to consider for toxicology, memanglah macam it's an extension from pharmaco kan, because when I asked you during pharmaco, apa yang comes to your mind, you talk about drugs, poisons, okay. But here, like what I said initially in this session, so the same thing, but the focus will be more on toxic substances. Okay, so ada function tak belajar toxicology ni? Adalah kan Ya, sebab daily we measure things, we measure our exposure, yeah, to toxic substance, because we know perhaps to a certain level the inhalation of carbon monoxide, or perhaps the vapors from the minyak kereta tu, ya. So balik siapa tadi? Liana pening kepala. Itu. So itu toxic effects kan, ya. So that is what toxicologists do actually, to actually inform the public of safety measures, yeah, of what level of exposure is macam still okay, yeah. You will not fall sick, yeah. So that sort of thing, yeah. So functions of toxicology, you can say, is us protecting the ummah, yeah. Okay, so meaning we protect our own species, yeah, and also the animal species yang selainnya, yeah. So it's a sort of like a form of service, yeah, to the society, right? And then, of course, in terms of us conserving the resources on Earth, yeah, in your environment, okay, and of course, toxicology is something that you must know, yeah, when especially you are dealing with drug development. Remember, dalam proses drug development, macam dekat mula-mula tu, sebelum we go into clinical trial, meaning sebelum we test on humans, kan ada safety and toxicity testing, ya. So safety and toxicity testing ni kita buat dalam apa? What is the testing organism or biological organism? So sebelum test on humans, macam contoh drugs, kita test dalam animals kan, ya. So animal models, alright. So do you see, yeah? We will test for the safety, and we will check out, we will determine the toxicity that can happen, yeah. So kan belajarlah toxicology ni, it becomes a basis for drug development, for instance, and also and not only drugs, yeah, all sorts of things, yeah, that we use daily, right? From household products, yeah, from cleaning products, from cultural products, yeah, all that men have made to actually assist us in our daily lives, yeah. So ada input dia kat situ in terms of toxicology. Boleh faham, ya? Okay. Alright, so I try lah, to go very fast here. So scope, okay. So you have to understand, toxicology ni memang applied science sebenarnya, ya. So meaning kita determine what happens, after exposure from this substance, for instance, so memang it's a sort of like an applied science lah, but you must remember it's actually transdisciplinary, okay, so that would be the scope, so you see, dia toxicology dia macam tamak sikit lah, semua benda dia kata dia macam dia akan tahu parts of chemistry, pathology, semua sekali, But I think you can see the reason why lah, because toxico memang contribute significantly to these areas, for instance. So for instance, kalau let's say you graduate nanti, you nak kerja dalam forensics kan, kan menarik tu forensics, perlu tak tahu tentang toxicology? So in some ways perlu, so all the other lah, macam epidemiology, public health here, okay, environmental health, for instance, you want to masuk area occupational health ke, so you study about the exposure of substances to the workforce in a certain factory ke, so meaning to say you need to know about the basis or concepts of toxicology, how the substances react with biological systems, right? That is why it forms the basis, or perhaps you can say that it is very diverse, yeah, in terms of dia punya discipline, and its scope covers a lot of areas. Okay, so from the basic sciences, you can see there semua ada application dalam bidang-bidang yang situ ya. Ada kan application dalam veterinary, macam veterinary. So tell me, dalam veterinary toxicology ada tak application dia? Vet ni deal dengan apa? You can chat with me if you don't want to open the mic. Vet deal dengan apa? Hari-hari tengok. Okay, animal, ya. Ada tak macam zoonosis, zoonotic yang can cause pandemic, apa adverse effects, adverse reactions and all that, yeah. But don't forget, your friends yang from nutrition, dietetics is also very important actually, yeah, for them to actually learn of the toxical concepts, yeah. But so far, like health ni, bila time toxicology diorang tak belajar, dia ambil pharmaco saja, yeah. But of course, from the basic science and the larger disciplines lah, there can be the application of toxicology. But like I said, you will use like tools for measurement, the testing methods. You have to know lah, what can be methodology for us to ascertain the toxic levels, yeah, or anything lah, yeah. So. And of course, you will be emphasizing on how do these toxic substances act or behave in biological systems, and how can they cause the adverse reactions. Okay, so there can be a lot of effects or outputs or outcomes, yeah. And I think you are very well aware about, for instance, cancer, yeah. So how it can come about, yeah, and how baby in the womb can be deformed, yeah, from exposure to toxic substances, yeah. So itu dalam kajian teratogenik lah, yeah, teratogenesis, right? So I think every day, daily akan ada reports, yeah, yang applicable to what you're learning, yeah, in toxicology. Okay, any questions? Boleh follow saya ke? Boleh, ya? Okay.
Boleh.
Alright, okay. I'm not going too fast, yeah. Okay. So since this is introduction, kita tengok history lah sikit, ya. So Paracelsus, I do not know whether you have heard, yeah. So he lives like in the late 15th and also until perhaps mid 16th century, yeah. So betul ke dia cakap ni? What do you all think? Do you agree with him? All substances are poisons. There is none which is not a poison. The right dose differentiates a poison and a remedy. What do you all think? Ada opinion ke? Tak ada apa-apa dalam kepala tu.
Maybe yes.
Betul tak dia cakap ni? Kind of agree.
Agreeable.
Agreeable. Okay, I bagi contoh ya. Makanan halal yang you makan, you jadi sihat, tapi I don't know, but when you eat a lot of it, what will happen to you? Boleh jadi mudarat lah, sama lah ya. So that is why I think we are always advised to do things in moderation, kan? Yeah. And there is some application here, yeah, whereby substances around you can be toxic lah, yeah, can be poisons, yeah. So, what is differentiating between a poison and a remedy? Yeah, will be how much it is taken in, yeah, taken up, right, or administered, right. So there is some sense in what Paracelsus is saying, yeah, since uh, thousands of years before, thousands, hundred, okay, decades before, hundreds, okay. So, all right, so yes, toxicology is like one of the oldest sciences. Ini bukan Musa ya ni ya. Musa bin Maimun ni. No, I do not think this is it. Yeah. So in this time, he actually published something about poison. And of course, people will be very interested from early on to know macam mana nak treat, yeah, if you are ever exposed to poisons, yeah. So meaning first aid becomes very important to people, yeah, because exposure to certain substances can cause fatality very quickly. I think you know, yeah. So some substances are very or highly toxic, yeah. You have to know, yeah, what could be first aid, yeah. Also to some people who are allergic to some substances, so is life saving, yeah, if you learned about what could be life-saving procedures or the first aid, yeah. So that will become very important. So remember, we are taking care of our own species, of other human beings, yeah. So that is a very concept or basis of learning about toxicology, yeah. Okay, so coming back to Paracelsus, these four principles become very important, yeah. So these principles actually form the concept of learning about toxicology tau, ya. So maknanya kita kena kaitkan lah, kita kena buat eksperimen, ya. When we have this one substance, we have to test, ya. Kalau dos macam ni, apa dia punya response? Naik sikit, apa dia punya response? Masih okay ke? Dah start giving you health adverse reactions. So experimentation becomes very important. Okay, in toxicology, you must remember that. Yeah. So yes, it's like one of the pillars, yeah, for toxicology, right? And then of course, with regard to the substances, to the chemicals, yeah. So remember dia punya apa tu? Statement earlier, Paracelsus, yeah, he talks about things being either a poison or a remedy, yeah. So even the substances which can cure us, yeah, depending on how much is being administered, so we have to be very careful about this, because if we don't get therapeutic effects, we will get toxic effects, yeah. So that is why there is that emphasis on the first point there, yeah. Kena ada experiment, yeah, to determine the dose, the correct dose, for instance. Okay. So the third point there, sometimes apa ni, there will be properties yang kita tak boleh distinguish lah, ya, by testing the dose, ya. So again, this becomes very important, yeah, in confirming the toxic effects of substances. Okay, and then I think in pharmacology you ada belajar ni, ya, about specificity. Mungkin you belajar dengan Dr. Izzuddin ke, ya, or Dr. Radia's drug specificity, yeah, how it acts on some target target sites on or perhaps in the biological system, yeah. So depending on that also, yeah, whether or not in the end we will get toxicity, yeah, or adverse reactions. Okay, so this has been the principles that Paracelsus have actually laid down many years from earlier on, yeah. So it forms like the apa ni, backbone lah, ya, of toxicology. Okay. Then the others are like yang ini, ya. Ada juga, ya, a father of modern toxicology, yeah. So what was actually published by him, yeah. Okay, in terms of again poisons and chemicals, yeah. And then have you read the book by Rachel Carson? Yeah. So she published a book called Silent Spring, yeah, whereby apa ni, she talks about the effects of pesticides, kalau tak salah saya, on birds, yeah. Okay, so banyak burung mati, so tak ada burung berkicauan macam tu lah, yeah. So like apa ni, pesticides ni, or perhaps the apa tu, LDT, ya, dia senang deposit dalam adipose tissue, ya. So at times of apa ni, tak cukup makanan around, ya, so our adipose tissue will be used kan, ya, to provide you with apa tu, energy ke or whatever, ya. So along will be released the poisons which has been deposited there, yeah, and that can cause death, yeah, of a bioorganism. Okay, so there are a lot of interesting books on toxicology, yeah, and how it's being looked at the in the early 1900s lah, ya, betul lah, ya, early 20th century. Remember, early 20th century juga, masa tu lah ada Second World War kan, ya, First World War, Second World War, remember 1940s semua macam tu, ya. And then remember in those wars, ya, some weapons are like biological weapons, ya. So memang the application of toxicology, how substances can hurt or cause cell death becomes very important, yeah. So and as well as I think I have talked to you about this also, thalidomide tragedy, yang mana in Germany ke mana, in the Europe countries in 1950s ke or early 1960s, yeah, whereby kan mothers in the first trimester kan loya kan, nausea, yeah. So they were given thalidomide, but thalidomide ni was not actually extensively tested in terms of safety and toxicity. So semua baby from those mothers yang lahir semua tak ada tangan, tak ada kaki, yeah, without limbs. Do you remember me talking about this? We did not talk about this. Ada ya? Ada ya? Okay. So read about this, yeah. So it's a tragedy, right? So memang no limbs, yeah. So that is why it becomes important now in drug development, and that is also why it takes a long time and it's costly to develop drugs, right? Because of this instances, yeah, this toxic effects, yeah, this tragedy, yeah. And what more about pesticides? Zaman dulu orang spray pesticide ni macam tu je, tak ada pakai PPE pun, yeah. So and there can be a lot of effects, yeah, on those in the agriculture, yeah, the exposure, yeah, and what can result perhaps in terms of developing cancer, yeah. And equally important is the treatment of hazardous waste, yeah. How do we dispose of this, yeah? So for you all later who would be interested in OSH ke, yeah, safety and health, yeah. So ada yang nak kerja dekat NIOSH ke, DOSH ke, or perhaps Department of Environment, yeah. So kena tahu ni lah ya, the concepts of toxicology ya. And don't forget, even the simple food poisoning pun is a form of toxicity ya. So those are like the concerns ya, that apa ni, revolves around knowing about toxicology. Okay, so up until here ada ke yang nak tanya apa-apa? Are you alright? Right okay. Kalau ngantuk ke apa ke, I don't know. Some of you baring kan, macam anak saya pagi tadi dengar lecture baring je, yeah. And of course tak buka video lah, yeah. Dia kuliah sains. Okay, so this is something that Rachel Carlson say lah, yeah. So the more clearly we can focus our attention on the wonders and realities of the universe about us, yeah. So we are not macam kita tak sampai hati lah ya, nak destroy our resources, our earth ya. So that is something that we hope to instill in all our graduates, in all our young ones. Yeah, it's really high time to really take care of our world actually, right, for the future generations lah. Yeah. Okay, so that's also the part whereby we celebrate the achievements of our Muslim scholars. Yeah. Okay. So Jabir ibn Hayyan, tak pernah dengar. Yeah. Okay, so he studies poisons, yeah, and their sources, also looking at how they work, yeah, and then he does the dose-response relationships, yeah, and also look at routes of administration, or perhaps kalau dalam toxicology, kita tak fokus on routes of administration tau. Siapa nak administer carbon monoxide ke you ke something like that, yeah? So usually we look at routes of exposure, okay? Instead of administration, it's exposure, yeah? But itu fokus kita, because we do not deliberately administer toxic substances to other humans kan, yeah? So you must remember that ada macam perbezaan sikit antara pharmaco dengan toxico, right? And that is also the reason why we do toxicity testing only on animals kan. Mana ada kita buat toxicity testing on humans? We don't do that, yeah. It will not be ethical, right? So kalau dalam toxicology ni, we are more concerned about how we are exposed to toxic substances. Yeah, it's very rare lah, yeah, that we deliberately administer toxic substances to humans. Yeah, so hope you are getting that. I hope you're taking notes. Yeah, okay, all right. So okay, so let's see. Let's talk a bit about the concept of harm. Okay, so it can be in the form of quantitative, yeah, something that you can measure, yeah. Okay, so very much dependent on how much that you are exposed to, yeah. Because sometimes kita expose ni pada carbon monoxide hari-hari tapi tak sakit pun, yeah. Mungkinlah the body sempat wash out ke, yeah, sempat proses, you know kan, the pharmacokinetics, but here is toxicokinetics lah, yeah, and also what is that, the toxicodynamics, yeah. So memang itu Allah dah bagi lah, yeah, for us to defend ourselves, yeah, for the body to defend itself, yeah. So meaning to say, harm ni can be very much quantitative lah, ya. So meaning we can say banyak ni substance tu tak ada apa-apa pun kita, ya. Okay, harmless, ya. Tapi kalau kita termakan lebih ke, kita terekspos lebih ke, tu berapa miligram ke apa-apa, then we start to like pening kepala ke, yeah, or perhaps we can experience some adverse reactions. So bukan ke itu kuantitatif, ya. So I think you can understand it that way, ya. So we can associate with the dosage or how much we are exposed to. Yeah, but certain things are very much qualitative. Yeah, so tak boleh nak pin down in terms of dose ke. Yeah, sometimes sikit saja pun can cause a cancer, but you don't know how it can come about. And also certain species will be very susceptible to certain substances, but other species will not. Yeah, for instance, the tetrahydrochloride. Yeah, I think you all know it's a hepatotoxic. Yeah? I do not know whether you all know. Yeah, but harmless to chicken. Chicken, I do not know. Dia ada mekanisme apa. Dia kalau exposed to this hepatotoxicant, dia okay. Yeah. And then rabbits pula can tolerate belladonna. Yeah. So yang hallucinogen so come from a plant, belladonna plant lah. Yeah. So they are not affected. Yeah. So macam mana nak make that into something measurable? So it's more like qualitative instead of quantitative, right? And then I think you have learnt the last point here. It talks about concept yang you dah belajar dalam pharmaco, whereby kalau you are exposed to two substances, for instance, one substance can perhaps make the effects of the other substance on the biosystem more elaborate. Sampai in the end you get adverse reactions. Okay, so that can happen in the body. Yeah, so it's very difficult to quantitate. Yeah, so some of this this concept of harm comes under the qualitative phenomenon. Okay, boleh. All right. So hopefully you can think about this, right? Okay. So tell me, kalau you plan later to study about toxicology, to further your study in this, yeah. So sebenarnya all along, yeah, we toxicologists, we have actually provided the public about mechanism of actions of toxic substances. Yeah, we make them known to the public, to the policymakers. Yeah, and then we associate chemical yang mana ni dengan the adverse effects. Apa yang menyebabkan orang ni sakit. So itu through our study that we have contributed to the knowledge, right? And then of course ada kaitan lah dengan physiological punya alterations ke apa ke, and of course we actually provide for the public. We tell them what could be hazards, especially important in occupational setting ke, so we tell them kalau exposed above a certain level, perhaps it can lead to nausea, so things like that. So we alert the public about things which can be toxic or things that can be hazardous in the environment, in everything that people can come into contact with, and especially the food that we eat, the drugs, the medications that we take, right? And of course, like I mentioned before, in drug development, ada contribution of toxicologists there, not only drug development, but a lot of products that human use, and termasuklah ni food additives semua tu all we develop kan, we man synthesize, but we have to test, in terms of what or how it can be toxic to biological systems. So other contribution of toxicologists there, and of course the development of policies, standards and regulations to protect human health. So meaning largely talking about public health. Okay, so do you see there? Ini bukan macam promo lah ya, nak suruh you masuk cari kerja yang berkaitan toksiko ya. Tapi kalau berminat, sebenarnya dapat banyak pahala ni ya. So you are actually taking care of other human beings. Yeah. So look at it that way. There are actually a lot of contributions. Not from being a toxicologist, but learning about toxicology. Yeah. Later on how you can apply it in your daily lives. Yeah. So ada hikmahnya, right? Okay. So this is something that you can look through later lah. Yeah. Okay. So we are going into the next section. I hope I'm not going too fast, but I'm quite worried sebab ini 19 slides baru. Ya. Ada 55 tu. Berapa lama lah yang nak kena bercakap ni. Ya. Dah 1 jam dah ni. Ya. But these are like principles that you must know in introductory lecture. Yeah. So if we are talking about toxicology, there are a lot of factors yang can cause the toxicity tau. Yeah. Of course lah, mula-mula the substance itself. Okay. So substance tu boleh cause toxicity. So we look at the toxic substance itself. Yeah? But sometimes when the toxic substance is just there, yeah, it's not in any matrix ke? Tahu kan? Macam dalam environment yang berlainan ke, ya? So dalam surrounding, ya. So itu pun becomes very important, ya. The surrounding of the toxic substance, ya. Sama ada dia boleh disebarkan, ya, through air ke, through water ke, something like that lah, ya. So that also we have to consider because that is also a factor that can influence toxicity, ya. Then also macam mana cara you can be exposed, ya, to toxic substance. That is also something that must be studied, yeah. Meaning the circumstance of exposure also is a factor that can influence the types of toxicity that you can get, yeah. And of course, let's see, kita organism tu, the biological organism, so how it is when we are in the environment, yeah? So what is our relationship, yeah? Sama ada we are susceptible ke, or sama ada kita yang not at all vulnerable ke, yeah? That or perhaps these are like factors that must be considered when we are studying about toxicity, yeah. So boleh, so these become very important principles, yeah. So think about this. If you need to ask me in the next lecture pun boleh, yeah. But you ponder about these items, yeah, because all this you would have to consider when you are studying about a certain toxicity, yeah. So bukan saja the toxic substances tu yang cause toxicity, tapi dekat mana dia, dalam environment apa dia, yeah. And then also how is the biological organism exposed to, and also apa reaction the biological organism towards the toxic substance. Boleh faham, ya? Okay. Any questions? Quite concern kalau tiba-tiba senyap. Entah I sejam ke depan ni I cakap seorang. I do not know. Yeah? Okay, so boleh faham, brothers?
Boleh,
yeah?
boleh.
Okay. Tanya, you can chat with me, at any time. Okay, so I do not know whether I need to go through again with you this, yeah? So some slides are like macam you've already learned the concepts in pharmacology tau, yeah? So some things I do not think I need to repeat, yeah? But I hope you can go through this lah, yeah? What it means by acute, chronic, but of course all now in this course you have to relate with toxicity, yeah? So acute toxicity usually affects seen soon after exposure. Chronic toxicity So from exposure to the manifestation of the disease, yeah. So there is that long period, yeah. So satu toxicity apa dia? Sakit perut, the normal sakit perut, gatal kulit, yeah. All that are like widespread, yeah. Even much more widespread lah, yeah, than fatal punya cases, yeah. I think you understand toxic response may not be detected for many years, yeah. Tapi suddenly you know your kidney is not functioning, so something like that, yeah. You must actually relate to risk and hazard, yeah, because that is actually very much related to toxicity. And then, of course, for us to be absolutely safe is very difficult. Yeah. We are forever exposed to toxic substances. Yeah. Okay. So those are like the types of toxicity, things that you can talk about. Yeah. When actually describing cases, right? So. Okay, so I think I've talked to you about this layer in terms of uh, toxicity, being selective toxicity, the drug itself, yeah, the specificity, yeah, affecting perhaps only one organ, I don't know. I do not know, perhaps the hepatotoxicant, nephrotoxicant, yeah, something like that, yeah, that can come under selective toxicity. But of course, because we humans or perhaps animals, we are very diverse, yeah. How we process these toxic substances in our body will become very different, yeah. So that comes under diversity, yeah. And just now we talk also about species differences, yeah. Some are susceptible, some are not, yeah, to certain substances, yeah. But of course, there is that change, yeah, in the genes, yeah, that can happen following exposure to toxic substances, yeah, polymorphism, yeah. So that will actually dictate what sort of response or toxic response that you can get, yeah. Itulah ya. Walaupun let's say you dengan kawan you sama-sama exposed to the same toxic substance, yeah, but how or what toxic response that both of you can show could be different. Boleh faham ya? Okay. So hopefully you understand that these are like concepts, very beginning punya concepts, yeah, that you have to know, yeah. But of course, when we talk about the effects itself, the undesired effects, toxicology kan kali ni ya. So memang emphasis dia on side effects, the ones that we do not desire. Even we administer a drug, we want that the therapeutic effect, but frequently side effects can happen, yeah. So it can be described as being adverse, yeah, or deleterious or toxic, yeah. So some can come in the form of allergy, yeah. So I think you understand this lah, from your learning for many years already. Itu termasuklah hypersensitivity, allergic reaction, semua ni lah, ya. So sama mediated, yeah. And then remember, sometimes kita tak boleh nak understand why certain individual show reaction, but the larger population tidak. Yeah. So mungkin ke individual tu extremely sensitive ke, or perhaps the other way around, all others are affected, but these individuals are okay, yeah. Think about that. And the others are like what you can use here in terms of when you're trying to describe, yeah, the toxic effects. Okay, so think about this, yeah. Okay, so yang ini kita dah belajarkan dulu about we are going into toxicokinetics, yeah. Remember, we talked about this in terms of masih kita belajar route of administration and then going on to pharmacokinetics, yeah. So here in toxicology, we are very much concerned about exposure, not so much about administration lah, yeah. We don't purposely administer, especially our own species lah, with toxic substances. Yeah? So the exposure can, because of you termakan something, you inhale, yeah, the substances, and then can come across your skin, yeah. Okay, so still it will be processed by your body, but now it's more like described as toxicokinetics, ya. So sama saja macam absorption, distribution, apa lagi tu, biotransformation kan ya, dengan excretion. The process is the same, but now the body is actually processing a toxic substance, yeah. Okay, so and of course these substances can be washed out. Okay, ada apa-apa nak tanya? Any questions? Ada apa-apa?
Doktor,
Yes.
yang tadi dekat side effect tu, adverse dengan deleterious, it have the same meaning ke?
Sort of lah, ya, macam benda-benda yang not favorable lah, ya. I think it's the same. I'm not sure actually what the exact definition for deleterious, yeah, but it's sort of like itulah ya, so dia kiranya degrade the functions of the cells, yeah. So it's sort of like similar, yeah. Things or perhaps terms that you can use it when you are actually describing about side effects, right? So nanti check out lah ya, and tell me, or perhaps post kat sini anyone deleterious tu apa maksudnya dekat chat tu, yeah, the definition. Boleh ya, Ain? Nurul Ain? Yeah?
Boleh, thank you.
Okay, so now kalau tak ada soalan, I'll go quickly ya. Perhaps I tak perlu explain in detail ke, but now we are going to look at the classification of toxins. So yang penting yang ni tau, yang the color ni orange ke. So itu yang you kena take note sebenarnya, because kan ada banyak toxins or toxic substances in our environment, things that we use, things that we come across each day, things that we are exposed to every day, so we try our best lah. Toxicologists akan classify them or masukkan dia into groups lah, because selalunya kalau macam dalam satu group tu, dia punya mechanism of action are similar, so we can better manage lah, in terms of understanding their mechanism of action, or perhaps to find a source of treatment, or perhaps prevention against exposure to these substances. So number one will be according to their toxic doses. So remember just now how a substance can be toxic at the same time that it can be therapeutic, macam Paracelsus tu, okay, so we can classify them that way, first and foremost, so of course because sini you have to make use of equipment, techniques, methodology, or assays, right, to actually determine the toxic metabolites ke apakah, so we look at their LD50 values ke, so it's all in here, so tell me, in this list yang mana lagi toxic agaknya, yang bawah sekali ke, yang atas sekali ke, botulinous toxin ke, or PBBs? How can we actually describe this table? Yang lagi toxic, kalau you tengok LD50 dia. LD50 is
Bawah.
so maknanya you kena tahu ya LD50 tu apa. LD50 ialah lethal dose kan ya. Whereby kalau kita test dalam a group of animals ya, half of the group of the animals will die with that much dose. Right, so this is in milligrams per kilogram. Yeah. So do you see only a bit of this botulinous toxin mati dah half of the animals. Yeah. Okay. So meaning to say kita boleh classifykan dengan cara ini. Yeah. When we do testing, so we can macam investigate or relate in terms of berapa banyak administered and how lethal it can be. Lethal tu kan macam toxicity kan, fatal, dah kan ya. So do you see ya? So this will tell you about the toxicity of these agents, of these chemical agents as compared to one another. Yeah. So you can see here ammonia. DDT ni yang dalam pesticide tadi, pesticide DDT. Yeah. So banyak ni. So when it's tested to the same model of animals, 50% of the animals died. So things like that. So maknanya kita boleh tahu the potency through the perhaps the dose, how it can be toxic. Yeah. So that is one way whereby we can classify the toxic substances. But of course, at the same time, we can use this chart. Toxicology sometimes they guna chart ni to describe. So kita punya tanggungjawab kan tu macam to give information to the public kan So we have to use terms yang hopefully the common people, lay people memang akan boleh understand. So perhaps we can classify certain agents as being super toxic, but some agents are like practically non-toxic, right? So this is actually a chart which can be used for certain toxic substances, right? Okay, so this is another one, tengok ni, satu grain pun mati dah, extremely toxic. Satu grain apa tu yang dalam tepung ke apa ke, something like that, yang very toxic. It is poisonous to man. Even satu taste ni satu taste dia mati dah terus. So certain substances can do that. I cannot remember apa benda tu, but there are substances when men are exposed to, they are extremely toxic to us. So even in testing with animals pun at a very low dose, a lot of the animals in the group died. But here there are like units that you can use to explain, to describe. So this has been developed by Daryl Kola from a long time ago. So remember, toxicology ni memang telah dikaji daripada zaman Paracelsus lagi. So that is why we have all this already. Okay. So what can you tell me about this? Apa yang you nampak kat sini? What can you say between rats and mice for the same chemical, exposure to the same chemical, tapi kenapa we get two different graphs? Mana lagi besar, rats ke mice? Kalau tak tahu ni, tak tahulah. Which is bigger? Which is bigger in size? Rats lah kan bigger in size. So tapi kenapa lethality tu lebih macam lebih teruk lah untuk rats kan. From this you can see that kan ya. So do you see ya? You can see from the exposure to the same chemical, this is what Kamrin is getting. Ingat apa chemical ni. So dia ini menunjukkan mice can be much more resilient to that same toxic chemical. Yeah, because kena naikkan dos barulah ada mice tu yang mati, 25% mati, 50% mati. Do you see that? Walaupun you know rats are bigger than mice. Yeah, usually kalau lab rats kan they're so big, you know. Yeah, so masa I buat my degree, I use rats. So big, I terpaksa suruh my lab assistant untuk sacrifice. Yeah, but rats, as you can see in this graph, are much more susceptible to that particular chemical. Yeah, so kat sini ada elemen whereby we can quantitate, yeah, the toxic response, but at the same time there is that qualitative element whereby certain species will be much more susceptible to certain toxic substance. So do you get me? Yeah. So boleh faham ya? Okay. Boleh relate dengan konsep yang sebelum ni. Alright. So that you have to understand lah ya when you're learning about toxicology, right? Okay, so nanti fikirkan ya. Okay, so the next one I think you can understand. We can classify toxic substances according to their physical state. Yeah, some are in the form of just ni lah aflatoxin ni ya. Yeah, okay, so some are in the form of aerosols. Yeah, okay, so a lot of things lah ya. So itu satu, but some according to their use. I think you remember from me talking to you just now about some substances are like household substances that we use for cleaning purposes, for instance. But some toxic substances are actually like used in agriculture. Remember, yeah, pesticides. Yeah, so some substances are in the form of drugs. Yeah, some are used in the food industry. Yeah, so that is also one way that we can classify them. Okay. According to their chemical structure also here, yeah. But some we classify them according to how they act in the biological system, right? So maknanya kita classifykan according to their similarity in mechanism of action, their similarity in physiological effects, yeah. So some, like I said, can be liver toxins. Yeah, tapi dia tak ganggu organ lain-lain. Yeah, some can be nephrotoxicants. Okay, so consider that. Yeah, so that is one method to classify also. But some can be classified when we do analysis on them. Yeah, kan kita macam nak extract macam the toxic substance, kita guna solvent, kan ya. So some are like we have to use polar solvents, some like non-polar ke, yeah. So kita boleh classify these toxins according to that, yeah. Especially apparent when we do the testing lah, yeah. And then also how we can chelate them from the biological materials, kita separate kan untuk study the toxic ingredient, yeah. So that is also a method of classifying these toxins, yeah. And then also some can come from plants. Remember, ada tak plant yang poisonous? What can you remember? Ada tak poisonous plant? Ada tak ikan yang poisonous? I don't know. Ada tak ikan buntal poison? Yeah, okay. Ada tak anything? Oh yeah, mushroom. Macam tu lah, ya. So mushroom ialah plant, ya. So and then some are like man-made. Okay. Some are like naturally occurring toxins in the environment. Yeah, some are even like chemicals which are inorganic. Yeah, so meaning here we can classify them according to where they come from or their origin. Yeah, so sangat penting tu, right? Okay, so okay, so itu cara-cara untuk classify lah. Yeah, I hope there will be no problem. Yeah, okay. Alright, so the rest are like ini dah masuk macam I think you can identify this chart lah. Boleh nampak tak kat sini? Ini macam toxicokinetics dan kat sini macam dah toxicodynamics. Kan so in terms of how the body process kan, metabolism, storage, excretion, itu semua kinetics. So since we are learning about toxicology, so we call it toxicokinetics. Yeah. Tapi kalau masuk fasa whereby the toxins or toxic substances cause an effect to the body, yeah. So that is actually in the toxicodynamics phase already, right? So in the end, it can give you that toxic response layer, so whereby there'll be an alteration of the function of the bodies, yeah, so involving physiological aspects, behavioral aspects, yeah, so all those, okay. So nanti you baca lah ni, okay. Alright, so kalau you are interested, this is like the stages of toxicity, yeah. So sama saja, macam from the point of exposure, bila dia masuk dalam biological system, kan you tahu dia terpaksa diabsorb, and then apa lagi, and then body distribute kan, ada metabolism happening or biotransformation, and then barulah masuk ke apa tu, any diverge into the toxicodynamics, and then of course yang ini we want excretion. Itu sangat penting sebenarnya for toxicology. This is what we aim for, the excretion of the toxic metabolites, from the body, that is what we aim for, the inilah, the washout. Okay, so those are things which I think should be logic lah, so things that you can ponder, can reflect, when you are reviewing this, right? Yang ini very important. I do not know whether you have learned this with the other instructors during pharmacology, tapi nanti you tengok ya. Okay, so here let's say if you have two substances, yang ini I think you know additive. 2 plus 2 jadi 4 lah, betul lah ni, when combined effect of two chemicals, the overall effect that you can get is like a summation of the effects of both chemicals. Tapi kalau ada synergistic action happening, 2 campur 2 bukan 4 dah, dia jadi 10, so meaning the sum of effects tu dia jadi greater, so ada interaction there, and also potentiation pun from a harmless substance, tapi kalau campur dengan another chemical entering the body, what can happen, but some chemicals do cancel out the effects of each other, so that can happen. This is a concept that we learned in chemistry perhaps, and its application is in toxicology. Boleh ke you ponder, you must understand sebenarnya, so it's not direct. So inilah mungkin form the basis of the qualitative phenomenon of toxic effects. Remember, okay. So mungkinlah, so especially important you understand that chemicals can interact with each other in the biological system. So these chemicals may well be toxic substances, so in the end, apa toxic effects yang kita dapat and the severity pun depend on the interaction between these toxic substances in the body. Anything you want to ask? Are you all following? Yang benda dah cakap ni.
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, so hopefully lah ya. But here is antagonism. I think you can make sense of this lah. Boleh ke saya suruh you baca ni? And then ask me later ya. Okay. So there can also be antagonism. Remember under interaction of chemicals. Yeah? Okay. So I'd like to deliberate a bit here about what we have been talking from the very beginning. But it's to do with dose response. Ada dose, ada response macam tu. So we are actually looking at the relationship between the two. Yeah. So inilah kan form the principles kan. Remember tadi Paracelsus kan banyak bercakap pasal ni. Ya, kena buat eksperimen kan ya. So maknanya bila kita buat eksperimen tu, we can know the spectrum of the effects that can happen ke. We can know the range of the substance which are toxic. Yeah. So memanglah generally kalau higher the dose of the toxic substance, memang generally the more severe lah the response. Itu macam the general principle lah. But you know, in science, nothing is ever definite, yeah. But that is generally what can happen, right? And of course, usually, apa ni, we do the testing in animals, ya. Tapi bila kita masuk clinical trial pun, it is also macam important, ya. Macam things that we cannot capture in animals kan. And then bila kita move on to clinical trials, sometimes people do get toxic effects kan ya, from medications which have gone into animal studies pun. Yeah. So still it becomes very important for us to take note of this dose response relationship, yeah, so that later whether or not we can improve the formulation, yeah. And of course the lab work is also very important. So sebenarnya nanti bila you masuk year 3 ke year 4 ke, kalau dah tak ada PKP, dah tak ada pandemic ni, you kan nak buat apa ni research project. When are you going to do your research project? Year 3 ke year 4? Saya tak ingat lah kalau new curriculum ni. Year 3 kan? Next year ya? Next year ya? Okay. So when some of you would be interested in cell studies, yeah. So that can also apply the concept of toxicology. Yeah, perhaps you'd like to test substances, yeah, or perhaps the exposure of the cells to whatever, yeah, in our environment. Yeah, so there you apply actually the concepts of toxicology. So at the same time that you're learning about how to take care, how to culture the cells. Yeah, so it's very interesting actually. Yeah. All right, so yes, when we are talking about dose response, we are talking about cause and effects. Ada belajar kan pasal cause and effects? Cause and effect, yeah, kaitan dia lah, right? But here, of course, kita kaji the toxic substance, yeah, how it can induce different effects, yeah. And it becomes important for us to know in toxicology apa could be the lowest dose whereby at that point lah baru kita nampak the toxic effect, yeah? Because then we can figure out lah, ya, macam kalau exposed to a dose which is below, perhaps then there can be no effect, yeah. So everybody selamat, things like that, yeah. So it's always important if you can to find the threshold, yeah. So itu memang salah satu konsep in toxicology juga yang becomes very important lah. Because kalau kita nak advise the public pun, yeah, because safety ni susah kan. How are we going to be virtually safe kalau kita keluar rumah pun how are we going to ensure that we do not inhale carbon monoxide punya particles? How are we actually assured that we are not exposed to UV, for instance? Sebab itulah it becomes important for us to know the limit sebelum any adverse effects can happen, or perhaps what can be done to prevent any effects or toxic effects macam UV, exposure to UV. Macam mana nak buat exposure to UV? Dalam rumah ada UV tak? Nak tanya. Ada UV tak dalam rumah?
Ada.
Siapa tu duduk tepi tingkap tadi? I can see duduk tepi tingkap. Kalau dalam rumah pun jauh daripada tingkap pun you can have UV from any source pun what can UV do? UV, I can see Imat pandang tingkap tu. So what can we do? Okay, perhaps sekarang kan ada banyak produk sunscreen lah, apalah. Do not know whether that can really ni lah SPF ke apa ke. But itulah how we can actually educate the public what can be done. Berapa lama you should be out in the sun, the maximum ke. For instance, masa hari tu saya tolong set up My Ulam Garden kan. Dah pernah pergi kan My Ulam Garden dekat Allied Health?
Belum.
Tapi dah tengok gambar tak?
Dah.
Ada gambar tadi Okay. I don't know, my plot, my group punya ni not doing so well kot sebab kita orang pun dengan PKPB ni tak pergi siram hari-hari. Tapi ada pakcik yang dia bersih, dia tolong, dia rajin lah But during the time that we are setting up the My Ulam Garden, I bukan jenis yang duduk in the sun for very long kan Okay. So maknanya bila dah 4 jam I kat luar tu memang masuk dalam my room in the kuliah memang penting muka sunburn but it's a toxic effect lah kan so memang kalau dalam kerja toxicology ni toxicologist so we are concerned about the adverse effects we have the obligation to actually find about the causes and find about what could be preventive measures, establish the threshold, the limit, so itu kerja kita sebenarnya, right? So we actually look at dose response, and then bagi tahu public or the community, the scientific community, how the dose, the exposure can build up into an injury so that preventive actions, safety measures can be taken. Faham Okay, so kalau you cannot capture nanti you can ulang balik recording ni and listen to what I said Okay, so remember so dose response becomes a very important aspect lah in toxicology, right? So you can see here this is one type of a response. This we call as a graded dose response lah sebab yang ini kita testing macam different dose and then kita macam connect the dots. Okay, so this is the general case lah whereby higher dose of toxic substances, perhaps kalau ini kita consider adverse response, will give you a higher adverse reaction, right? Tapi when we do macam epidemio, so this is how we actually look at the effects in the population. For instance, kita testing, for instance, residential area yang berdekatan dengan factory yang keluarkan asap toksik hari-hari, kan so dulu kan masa dekat masa jalan from KL ke Kuantan, jalan lama dekat mana Maran ke mana akan ada a lot of people akan stop dekat situ untuk solat dekat masjid Maran ke tak ingat saya, tapi across we can see that factory yang memang akan keluarkan fumes ya, and bau fumes sampai ke masjid tu ya. Okay, so I usually remember that lah ya. So the same thing can happen when perhaps a residential area is berdekatan dengan a factory which can be a source of toxic fumes ya. So you can study the population in that residential area ya. So mungkin lah you can see suddenly a lot of apa ni, the kebanyakannya akan masuk kuartal yang mana ya. So some will be very resilient ya, tapi some are like macam kena expose sikit dah jatuh sakit ya. So this is what we will usually get lah ya, kalau follow the control dose response, the normal distribution, right? So this is also macam the description what toxicologists put in their report ya, following toxicological study ya. Okay, so I don't know whether I've shown you this before dalam pharmacology ya, tapi ini memang probit long dose probit skill, long dose probit skill. Okay, probit tu macam mortality lah ya. So tell me, mana lagi selamat ya, toxic substance A ke B? Suzanah, so what is your view on this?
Selamat lagi tu doktor.
Sebab?
Sebab mortality rate dia tak macam
dah lambat lagi nak mati,
percentage
kena banyak sikit baru mati macam tu. Mortality lah kan mati kan ya. So yes, you are quite correct ya. So A is much more like a safer lah ya, but you know kalau Paracelsus dia cakap all substances are toxic pun ya. But kalau B terlampau drastic ya, you naikkan sikit ke 10 mix per kg ya, dah kematian tu sangat tinggi ya. Okay, so that is how you actually explain this ya. So you can scientist, you kena pandai ya tengok graph and explain, describe ya. So the lesser of the two evils will be the A lah ya. But still the mortality is increasing with a higher dose because it follows the general principles, right? So that we can see in a long dose probit scale lah ya. So ini memang dah di apa ni, dilogkan ya, so that we can get a straight line and we can make deductions or conclusions, right? Okay, so this is also being used by toxicologists to explain things, to explain the toxicology. Yeah, so the descriptions are here. So probit analysis ni memang commonly used by us in toxicology, yeah, to actually look at the relative toxicity lah of a chemical to living organisms. Yeah, so memang akan test various concentrations of the chemical. Yeah. And then akan compare with other chemicals ke perhaps ya. So memang kalau we look at probit analysis ni, we are looking at mortality ya, sama ada mati ke tak mati ya. So that is our main aim lah ya. So is actually looking at the relationship lah ya. So kalau sebelum log dose tadi memang kita akan dapat yang macam sigmoid. Sigmoid tahu kan, sigmoid curve kan ya. Okay. But untuk menyenangkan kita buat conclusion ke deduction, kita akan tukar dia jadi straight line. That's why kita macam log dose kan ya. So then we can see the relationship ya. And then from the graph tadi pun straight away you can see in between B dengan A, you can straight away say perhaps A is a much more tolerable substance, yeah, as compared to B, yeah. So I hope you understand that concept, yeah. Boleh faham ke ni? Are you all okay there? Ya, masih depan PC ke? I tak nampak you all ni. Ya. Okay. Alright, okay. Kejap lagi. Ini kita dah lagi berapa slide ni? 11. 10 lah kot ya. Kalau tolak thank you slide. Kalau ada lah ya. Thank you slide tu. Okay, so kalau probate analysis ni memang endpoint dia macam little concentration, little dose. Yeah. So that is how we describe things. Yeah. So yang ini tadilah ya, comparing the two types of chemicals. Apparently they are pesticides. Okay, so you can read here, pesticide B is more toxic than A because blah blah blah. So obviously this is a study on aphids, ya. So bukan manusia ya. Okay. So aphid apa? Tak ingat saya macam insect ke? Cuba cari sikit aphid tu apa? Tak salah saya macam insect lah ya, macam serangga kan ya. Aphids ya. That's why they use pesticide. Okay. So I hope you understand ya the concept there. The probate analysis ni memang tengok pada mortality lah. And of course itu aim dia kan untuk pesticide ni kita sembuh so that matilah insect. I punya pokok Brazil kat luar tu semua berlubang-lubang bayam Brazil. Tapi pokok kesum dia tak makan, daun kesum dia tak makan, daun apa lagi yang sebelah tu dia tak makan, mint. Dia attack, I do not know apa serangga ni, semua bayam Brazil je yang dia suka. Semua berlubang-lubang belaka. Ya? So I sembuh apa? I sembuh macam water based, chemical lah ya. Soalnya ulam kan kita nak makan later ya. But memang kalau penggunaan pesticide ni, the aim is to actually get rid kan ya through the act of killing lah ya. So to protect our what we cultivate ya, our product ya. Okay, let's look at this. Ini apa ni Cuba tengok ni. Tajuk dia apa? Tajuk dia ini berkenaan dengan vitamin. Makan vitamins tak hari-hari? What sort of vitamins that you take? I'm sure I know. Kebanyakan akan ambil vitamin C lah.
Betul.
Betul ya? Okay. So you must consider ya, macam when you take vitamins or supplements, yeah. Of course, you must understand that kita tak boleh berlebihan tau ambil these trace elements ke vitamins because it can give you this. Yeah? Okay. So memanglah deficiency tu memang tak sihat mati ke ya, but of course apa tu? Ini bercakap pasal adverse response ya. So only the range of dose of these vitamins or supplements that you take must be correct, yeah. Okay. So I think you realize that if you exceed the dose, there can be some form of toxic response, yeah. So it's not always good, yeah. Okay. So more is not necessarily good, yeah. So this is a different type of phenomena or macam affects a different type of graph also shown by vitamins or trace elements. Yeah. So it's not like the normal sigmoid type of ni. Yeah. Kalau macam yang tadi kan kita bercakap pasal the other types of substances, mungkin pesticide tadi. Start daripada bawah ya, sigmoid curve ke apa ke, but for vitamins kalau daripada bawah pun akan cause you death kan ya, because you tak cukup elemen tu, remember ya. So for certain certain substances it will give you this ya. So meaning the apa yang kita nak achieve with the administration or taking vitamins or trace elements, this region here, yeah, whereby everything is in homeostasis, yeah. Because kalau berkurang pun tak elok, can be fatal, give you adverse reactions or even death. Yeah? But kalau terlebih pun tak elok. Yeah? So this is another representation that is shown by a different class of substance. Yeah. Yeah. I hope we can understand this. Yeah. So it's another type of dose response that we can get from the administration of vitamins. Yeah. Okay. So the other things, I think yang ini, I can actually stop here lah. Sebab kalau tak salah I, in the other, sekejap ya. Bila belajar Toxicokinetics pun ada benda ni. Yeah, okay. Susi, yeah. Alright, so I think you really have a lot on your plate by today pun, yeah. So boleh ke? Tadi slide berapa kita tadi? Slide berapa tadi? Students tadi? 46 ya? Okay, right. Okay, so yang selainnya, I think I would like for you to actually tengok dulu. And then kita akan discuss dalam apa ni the next session. Boleh ke? Boleh ke? Can I ask you now? Boleh? Boleh ya? Yeah.
Boleh.
Ada sikit je lagi. So I think I will leave that portion from slide 46 tadi sampai mana tadi? Sampai yang ini 52 for you to go through and then kita akan discuss lah ya. Because portion ni sebenarnya ada dalam Toxicokinetics ya. Okay, so I hope that's alright yeah. So the main reference are these yeah, but you can also get from the ones I listed in the teaching plan yeah. Okay, I don't know whether this makes you a toxicologist yeah, but you have now with you the main concepts yeah, in the practice, right? So what is it, what rules that we go about, yeah? So the scope, yeah? The application of the toxico knowledge, yeah? Okay, so this is it, yeah? So I think dalam teaching plan tu memang I mention akan ada briefing kan, betul ke? Dalam teaching plan week 1, yeah? Okay, so I will want you all to get into groups. Yeah, you'll be presenting this task in week 3. Yeah, okay. So ada berapa orang? You only 39 kan? 39 kan? Betul ya? 39. 40. 40? Masa pharmaco hari tu 39.
Sebab ada senior masuk.
Oh, okay. Welcome. Yeah. Okay. So, boleh ke agaknya you work in 4 groups. You know why I wouldn't want many groups sebab nanti nak present nanti you all present lama, ya. So nanti tak cukup masa pula. Ya. So boleh ke you get into 4 groups, so maknanya satu group tu 10 orang ya, because there are a lot of things to do also. Okay, so you can see here you can buat a short video ya. And also ada yang kena write a report ya, but report ni pun tak panjang ya. So I am actually looking at the rubrics ya. This year I nak tukar rubrics to be much more improved lah ya. Okay, so yang itu rubrics tu nanti I akan post dalam the Padlet wall ya. So meaning this presentation will require the video presentation from each group. Yeah? And then later you just email me the short write-up, yeah? Because you will have to actually search for an event or incident of toxical nature, yeah? Either those happening abroad, overseas, yeah? Hopefully something yang berlaku very recent lah, ya. Janganlah bagi I yang lama-lama, ya? Macam Hiroshima ke, I don't know, ya. Itu dah terlampau lama, ya. Everyone knows, ya. Or perhaps Chernobyl. Setiap there are many years I get things about Chernobyl, yeah. So find study an event or incident of toxical nature, yeah. Either globally or perhaps you can go local, so that we know. Kan ada banyak benda-benda yang happening in recent years that ada toxic effects. I'm not going to say what, yes, but I want to know whether any group will pick up. Yeah. Okay, so hopefully we can actually hear to the presentations and then perhaps do some Q&A, so that it can actually encourage us like to be much more aware of whatever is happening of toxical nature in our environment, right? Okay, so what I must ask each group to do or as a class, nanti bila you dah decide, you refer to one another, ya, so that takkan ada overlap lah. Tengok-tengok nanti 3 group tengok benda yang sama, ya. So I wouldn't want that lah, ya. Nanti jadi boring pula presentation tu nanti, ya. So you make sure of that, ya. Eva, bolehkah Eva?
Boleh, Doktor.
Boleh, ya. Okay, so nanti Eva, nanti you help me macam assign the groups ke, whatever convenient lah, however convenient. Lagipun you all are not apa ni, you semua kat rumah belaka, ya. So your only means to contact one another. I do not know how you will do this, ya. But I hope this will encourage some form of teamwork, ya. So to present the best macam cerita event, ya, of toxical nature, ya. So that we are aware lah, ya. Okay, so boleh ke, are you all able to do this in 2 weeks? Boleh, ya? In 2 weeks ke? 3 weeks lah, ya? 3 weeks, 2 weeks lah, 2 weeks. Sebab kita jumpa week 3 kan, ya? So get together quickly and hopefully you can accomplish this task, ya? Okay, so alright, I think basically itu sajalah, ya. So itu pun dah nak 2 jam dah kita ni, ya. So I'm very concerned about you using your data, ya. So ada apa-apa soalan ke? Tak ada, ya. Can you follow? Boleh follow, ya. Right? Ke ada yang dengkur dah ni, I do not know, ya. Tidur dah ni aja, ya. Dah terlentang ke, I don't know, ya. Tapi kejap lagi kena bangun, ya. Solat, ya. Salat asar pula. Okay, so kalau tak ada apa-apa, Eva, anything else? Anything you want to ask me? You are alright, ya?
Setakat ni tak.
Okay, so maknanya you notice study class next week is not on Monday, eh? Okay, so take note of the dates, ya. So kalau tak ada apa-apa, thank you very much students. We end our session with the Kafara and Surah Walas. Okay, thank you very much. I will pass you the recording, yeah. Okay, so for you to do your review. So Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, Doktor.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Doktor. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, bye-bye.
Prof.
Okay.